Spice and Wolf, Volume 19, Spring Log 2 by Isuna Hasakura. A Petals Fragrance and Wolf Lawrence and Hollow, now married and running a bathhouse in the hot springs town of Naohira, reminisce about their past as traveling merchants while cleaning out a dusty shed. They come across a small glass vial that triggers memories of one of their journeys over 10 years ago. As traveling merchants, Lawrence and Holo make their way east to help out a young lord named Amalie Draustem Hadish at the request of an abbot Lawrence knows. Holo is irritated at the detour, wanting to rest at a town instead. They pass through a field of fragrant purple flowers before arriving at the small village of Hadish. At the village, they find Amalie in a dispute with the villagers over repairing the town's watermill, which keeps getting damaged by wildfires caused by the purple flowers every summer. Amalie wants to collect installation costs from the villagers to fix it, but they object. Lawrence and Holo learn that the villagers have been secretly using hand mills to avoid the watermill fees. Lawrence offers to help Amalie by confiscating the hidden hand mills, seeing it as a chance to get in the good graces of the new young lord. He cleverly figures out where the mills are hidden and collects them with the help of Amalie's large, taciturn vassal, Jurgen. Amalie feels guilty about the underhanded tactics, but knows it's necessary for the good of the village. She tries to come up with a use for the problematic purple flowers to incentivize the villagers to cut them down and protect the watermill. After much brainstorming, Lawrence has a flash of inspiration, realizing the flowers can be used to make expensive rose oil, like the kind Holo uses on her tail. Using Holo's vial of rose oil as a guide, Lawrence directs the villagers in building a crude still to extract the flower oil, which can be sold for a tidy profit to maintain the mill and enrich the village. Amalie is overjoyed at the clever solution. Lawrence prides himself on his merchant's cunning, though Holo teases him that his wallet will still be empty, as she will make him buy her even fancier oils for her tail. Back in the present, Lawrence and Holo put away the vial, fondly remembering how the fragrant flower oil became a sweet scent of happiness for the village. They walk back to the bathhouse hand in hand, their bond as strong as ever. Sweet Fangs and Wolf. It's a quiet early spring day at the Spice and Wolf bathhouse with no guests around. Call, a longtime helper at the bathhouse, decides to take a relaxing bath and have some sweet mead. His peace is soon interrupted by Miuri, Lawrence, and Holo's energetic daughter, who convinces him to watch her make two bears fight in the bath for her amusement. The tussling bears end up damaging the bath's stone center island. The next morning, Lawrence and Call work on rebuilding the island, while Miuri is nowhere to be found, having run off after Lawrence scolded her harshly for the incident. Call becomes irritated when Miuri shows up covered in mud and scrapes, excitedly trying to get him to ditch work and go with her to the forest to see something she found. Call coldly brushes her off, telling her to go to her room and reflect on what she did. Miuri slinks away in tears. After finishing the repairs, Call goes to check on Miuri, but runs into Miuri's friend Calm outside. Calm says Miuri found a huge beehive in the forest and wants his father to make mead from the honey as an apology present for Call, who has taken a liking to mead recently. Call realizes Miuri was trying to make amends in her own way and feels terrible for not hearing her out. Call decides to harvest the beehive himself as punishment for hurting Miuri's feelings. He returns to the bathhouse covered in bee stings with a barrel of honey. He goes to Miuri's room to apologize, but she has cried herself to sleep out of guilt. Call gently tells the sleeping Miuri that he's not mad and looks forward to the mead she thoughtfully planned for him, vowing to trust her kind heart more in the future. Grooming Sheep and Wolf Lawrence and Holo are resting in their wagon on the road back from the town of Svernal after helping with the lively Festival of the Dead. Lawrence's back aches fiercely from his exertions catching sheep and pigs. He laments getting old, while Holo teases him mercilessly, grooming her tail fastidiously. A shepherd named Horad approaches, asking if Lawrence can watch his sheep while he takes his injured sheepdog to a friend. Lawrence agrees, and Horad leaves the flock in their care. The sheep immediately begin wandering off. Lawrence tries to get up to herd them, but his back spasms painfully. Hollow takes the shepherd's staff and attempts to corral the unruly sheep herself, but they ignore her commands, bleating incessantly. Her ears twitch in irritation under her hood. She grows increasingly frustrated, and Lawrence nervously wonders if she'll transform into her giant wolf form to frighten them into obedience. Hollow seems on the verge of tears, and Lawrence realizes she's more upset about something else: their recent decision to hire a new girl named Selim at the bathhouse. As a fellow wolf, Hollow feels threatened, worrying Selim will usurp her position. She wants to prove she's not good for nothing. Lawrence soothes Hollow's insecurities, assuring her that Selim is only there to help with chores, and that Hollow's true job is shepherding their little family flock at the bathhouse, keeping Muri in line, making sure Call relaxes, and supporting Lawrence and the staff. No one can replace her. Reassured, Hollow expertly herds the sheep with a piercing gaze and a few choice words. She clings to Lawrence, and he promises she can still be as lazy as she likes when Selim arrives, as long as she continues keeping a sharp eye on everyone. Horad returns, and the peaceful mood returns as they continue their journey home. Sometime later, Hollow dozes off while picking vegetables in the early spring sun. Selim, now working at the bathhouse, gently wakes her. Hollow is chagrined to be caught napping, but glad Selim seems to be fitting in well. Selim notices a plump leech on Hollow's arm and carefully burns it off, then bandages the wound and shoos Hollow off to lunch. That evening, Lawrence asks Hollow how Selim is working out. Hollow admits the girl is exceeding her expectations and that her fears of being replaced were unfounded. In fact, things are going almost too smoothly, and Hollow laments she has nothing to quarrel with Lawrence about now, as she usually does when a new girl is around. Lawrence is baffled, but relieved there's no drama, while Hollow teasingly wonders if she should stir some up. She sprawls in his lap as he writes, her tail flicking, and ponders Selim's future at the bathhouse. For now, all is calm and well, the only hitch being that Hollow almost wishes it weren't so that she'd have an excuse to bicker with her companion. She chuckles at the thought as she leans against him, and Lawrence sighs in exasperation, wrapping an arm around her. All is as it should be. Memories of Spice and Wolf. Lawrence and Hollow drive their cart along a forest road, taking a break to rest from their long journey. Lawrence's back aches fiercely from age and overexertion at a town festival where he and Hollow won a lot of meat and goods. As Hollow makes them a meal, she complains about Lawrence's lack of hygiene on the road, threatening to not let him use her warm tail as a pillow unless he bathes. A shepherd named Horad, leading a large flock of sheep, approaches them, asking for a ride to the nearby town of Svernal. His sheepdog partner has injured its paw and can't work. Lawrence politely declines as they are heading the opposite direction. Instead, Horad asks if they can watch his sheep while he takes his dog to rest at a friend's charcoal hut in the forest. Lawrence agrees, and Horad heads off after sizing them up as trustworthy. Lawrence and Hollow realize that with his back pain, it will be up to Hollow to keep the unruly sheep from wandering off. Hollow tries intimidating the sheep with her shepherd's staff and herding them with her wise wolf powers, but the flock ignores her, scattering in all directions. She grows increasingly frustrated, feeling like a failure. Lawrence realizes Hollow is worried about disappointing him and not living up to her own high standards as the wise wolf of Yoitsu. Lawrence consoles Hollow, assuring her that he knows how hard she works behind the scenes to keep their bathhouse running smoothly, even if it doesn't look like it. He reminds her that her unique skills as a wise wolf are what enable her to manage their little flock of workers and family at the bathhouse. Encouraged by Lawrence's understanding, Hollow is able to get the sheep to obey her, herding them with ease. She and Lawrence discuss the new wolf girl Selim, who will be coming to work for them at the bathhouse. Hollow admits she was anxious about bringing another wolf into their pack, but knows rationally it will be fine. Lawrence agrees, saying Selim and Hollow will surely get along well. Horad soon returns and gratefully takes back his flock. Lawrence and Hollow get back on the road, eager to return home. Lawrence reflects that after the long winter, spring is a time for new beginnings. Hollow contentedly rests her head on his shoulder as they ride off, her tail swishing happily. Epilogue: Hollow drowsily picks spring buds at the bathhouse while Selim, the new wolf girl working there, assists her. Selim is earnest and respectful of Hollow, almost to a fault. When Selim notices a leech has attached itself to Hollow's arm, she rushes to remove it carefully, showing her capability. That night, Lawrence asks Hollow what she thinks of Selim. Hollow says Selim is exceeding expectations and fitting in well, setting Hollow's fears of a quarrel over leadership to rest. Hollow jokes she was almost hoping to have an excuse to be unfriendly with Lawrence for old time's sake. As Lawrence finishes up some merchant letters, Hollow grooms her tail with the expensive rose oil Lawrence buys to spoil her. She reflects on how much she and Lawrence have changed over the years, but also how they haven't changed at all. Hollow lovingly leans on Lawrence's shoulder, savoring the warmth and comfort of the life and bond they've built together. If you enjoyed this summary, please consider subscribing to the channel.